Well, good news. The wait is over. The anticipation is over as well, because the good news is the Porsche Taycan is here in New Zealand. And I'm with a couple of blokes who know a little bit about it, and I'm fortunate also to know a little bit about it. Earl and Will Bamber, the dynamic duo, brother, set, race car drivers, all that kind of stuff. Boys, great to have you here to talk about this car. And I know you've spent a bit of time in it, and you more than anybody probably gets to understand this car a little bit more with the history you've got and that beautiful racing machine behind. A fair bit of, I suppose, technology and a lot of learning over the years in the 919 has then finally found its way into what is Porsche's first amazing electric sports car.
Yeah, I mean, I had the chance many years ago to experience sort of EV technology at the highest possible level with the 919 behind us. And when you first think about it, we all think about, city cars that are not fast and they're efficient. And the first time you get in it, you're absolutely mind-blown about the level of performance that these things have. It's absolutely incredible. And with the race car, it was amazing. It was interesting to be at the forefront of it and try to harness how much power and torque it has. Was really difficult. And now, when finally driving the road car, you experience it's the same thing. It's really cool, and you get that smile, and it's just like driving any other sports car that Porsche makes.
Let's just talk about when you first drove the 919, and sort of obviously you understood what the concept and everything was, but it must have been quite incredible the first time when you do understand it, and then you get to experience it and start to put into context what all that technology is doing and how it's filling the voids of a combustion engine, all that kind of stuff. I mean, and then the performance must have just blown you away.
I mean, I remember the first time clearly I sat inside it, and you switch on all the buttons and you hear this whirring power up of actually not the engine, but the EV and the hybrid system, and the whole thing whir up. And then when you go out on track, I think the most powerful thing I drove in my life was like probably 600-700 horsepower, and this thing had 1,200-1,300. And the amount that it kicks off the corner, and we had wheel spin at over 200 k's an hour out of high-speed corners on the front axle, not the rear, because of the hybrid system. And that's what I said, harnessing that energy and trying to understand what it's all about. But then the efficiency of the thing, because I think the fuel tank, don't quote me on it, is about 45 kilos.
Right.
And then you're doing about...
Which means nothing to us because we talk litres, but anyway.
Well, you do the conversion, but it's about 45 kilos of fuel. Not a lot. Yeah, and then the average speed at Le Mans is 240 k's, and you pit every 45 minutes. So the distance that you do on such a small amount of fuel is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, I know I actually just get really green with envy when he talks about driving that thing. You as his brother... I mean, how envious and jealous.
Actually, I remember it very clearly when Earl won Le Mans for the first time. I was at university in my little den, not really the biggest of places.
studying away,
and we didn't.
So you didn't want to know because he wasn't even watching. He was just studying.
I watched every single minute all night. It was the easiest 24 hours of my life. And then when it came evident overnight that they were in the lead, and the special thing I think for them was that they won Le Mans for the first time again after so many years, and at just an all-out blitz. There wasn't any conservation there. The guys went all night and just blew it away. And I always found it something quite fascinating, the reliability. And they went through all these races, and to see that technology now flow through to the car, going to when we first drove it for the first time, the Taycan, and we put it through its paces. And we come from a farm. We like to have a bit of fun, and we didn't hold back, that's for sure. And the car just keeps going and going. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a drive a few months ago. And, expectation, I mean, you probably, have been a part of seeing the development and understanding it so much closer than the rest of us. But, you've got this whole perception around electric cars because we've seen them, and they've been obviously quite prevalent for a little while. But this has been highly anticipated because it's not what we have become very used to seeing, and what the rhetoric around other car companies have talked about, because Porsche have got something to live up to, right? They had to live up to a totally different level. So, I mean, electric cars not new, but when you're a company like Porsche, the expectation of what you need to produce and also in your first go, right? It takes a lot of learning, and this has obviously been in development for a long time, and you've probably seen and heard and had a little bit more knowledge about it than the rest of us. But, you know, I've watched electric cars and the rhetoric around them and people talking and their opinions, and there's obviously very differing opinions. But at the end of the day, you know, when I got in that for the first time to have a drive, I did have a preconceived idea of what it should be, and it blew way past where that was. Was it the same for you guys?
Absolutely. You know, the word is sports car.
Yeah.
And can electric be a sports car? The first time I actually drove it in Portugal for the first time. And the event we were at was a race experience. We were talking 911s, GT3Rs, everything that was there, GT3 RSs. And it was all about track. It was all about performance and everything that's born from Porsche, from the track. And all the drivers were actually more interested in the Taycan. Would it live up to it?
Yep.
We actually had to sign a waiver to actually let their customers drive the car because they were so interested if it would hold up to the test. And this blew us all away. We couldn't get enough of it. We had to keep driving it. And that same feeling that you have in a car, you know, it's the sports seat, low center of gravity, the steering wheel's familiar, everything is what I feel is a Porsche.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same, and we had it a lot at the factory. There was a lot of talk, and we obviously get to meet some of the guys that design it and build it. So when we started doing the launches, it was quite cool to hear all the stories. And there was, I think in the media, this sort of, you could almost call it a war between Tesla and Porsche, because, you know, that was the benchmark, I would say. And everyone also wanted to do that. I know everyone in the factory also just wanted to blow it out of the way. So there was a lot of pressure because there's a lot of great cars in the market. And we were sort of, I think everyone there was a bit unsure about how it's all going to come together because it's the first time that they've made one, and there is a lot of pressure on everyone. So to see the final product as well is absolutely incredible. And, you know, just the handling of it is amazing. You know, when you think about it, you see it and you think, is it really a sports car? Is it going to handle like a 911 traditionally has? And am I going to be able to throw it around? It's going to be agile, and is it going to excite me to drive it? And it does all of that. I would say even more than a regular Porsche. You know, the thing is just, you can't get enough of it.
Well, they had to work harder at it, didn't they? They've had to work harder. I mean, it's over 2 tonne. It's a heavy car, and we know the battery situation, they are heavy. But there was some of the real key things that just stood out was the 2-speed motor. You know, how it changes gear and the noise, the synthesized noise. Like, it's not a combustion engine, it doesn't sound like one, but there's the effort that's gone into those attention to detail things, right? And when you all of a sudden you boot the thing off the line and it changes gear, the sensation is well, it's unparalleled. It's totally different to anything else we've had.
Totally agree. And the way I would always describe it was, if I could make a sound that would be electric and Porsche, they absolutely nailed it. Like you say, that second gear, it just keeps pulling through. And it's something I'm very excited about now. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they can adapt this to racing cars as well. You know, this actually excites me for the future with how well this car handles. You know, like you said, that amount of weight, an electric vehicle, you all talk about torque, you all talk about performance and top speed, but could it handle in a corner with that much weight?
Yep.
And it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, they had to make sure that it did all those things and had that essence and that DNA, which is a widely used, I suppose, phrase of doing it, but the Porsche DNA. And I've been probably pretty critical around the whole electric thing, but you drive that. And if you weren't told it was electric, other than if you turned the stereo up and you couldn't hear the engine, you would not know, as far as I'm concerned. You know, you would drive that car and think you are in a Panamera or a larger Porsche of some descript, and because everything else is where it needs to be, that completely and utterly tells you you're driving a Porsche.
Yeah, and we always talk about the cars are born and bred on the racetrack, and that's where our sports cars are made, and that's why we drive the cars like the 919. The technology goes through, and when you're doing the first Taycan, you sort of think it's so futuristic and so vastly different to anything that they've ever built before. Is it still going to have that sense of a Porsche and the essence of what it is? And when you sit inside it, it does still have that DNA.
You feel it straight away.
You feel it straight away. You just sit in there. It's got the digital dash, but a small detail that I love is the RPM gauge is always in the middle. Yeah. And that's like a racing car. A sports car always has the dash in the middle. No other car in the world has that. And then when you get to drive it, you think of it as, is it going to be the same? And when you go on the track, it's exactly the same as all the DNA of our cars. And we've all driven them. It's that Porsche-like handling. They're not they don't understeer. They're sharp. They require responsiveness. You've got to be on it to drive.
Doesn't roll and squeal the tyres.
Yeah, and it's got everything that you imagine a high-performance sports car's got, but it's an EV car, and then you can drive it around town, totally mundane as well, and it's one of the more comfortable cars that you ever drive as well. So, you know, the range that it's got is absolutely fantastic.
I mean, you're a Porsche factory driver, and well, you know, your life is Porsche these days. Mine isn't so much, but I'm a fan of the brand. But that's, you know, that is such an important thing to make sure customers are, you know, are aware of, or all those things from a perspective of a professional and from someone who drives a lot of cars and knows cars. You know, that's what we expect from it, and we can honestly tell you that's exactly what it does.
Well, I've found it interesting over the years. I've been very lucky to drive many cars, both on the racetrack and the performance way, and also the road cars, and seeing the development throughout the years. It's all been scaling up. So you've seen different elements come into the range. So, you know, torque vectoring and rear axle steering and things like this, which I think is all led up to the Taycan. It's almost like it's been in development for, you know, 10, 15 years, or all through the life of Porsche, to the point where it can handle the limitations, say, of EV with a lot of weight and things that we don't actually have any byproduct in terms of performance. It still feels like that car because we have all these other attributes to help us, but it feels natural.
We still love combustion engines though, don't we?
Oh, we do.
Oh yeah, we love the sound.
We do. We still love them. and Porsche's going to have combustion engines for a while, aren't they?
I know. I guess the people higher up make those decisions than us. But I mean, yeah, if we look at the core of it, you still can't beat a flat six with the engine noise that they've got.
Because we've grown, our sensors are. That's what our sensors demand, right?
Even the smell of an engine in the morning, ticking over.
But this is when we're talking about where the world is going and where manufacturers are going and what they're looking for in technology. You know, that is something pretty surreal, and I have to bow my head to Porsche for you know, for their first go at producing a production EV. I mean, holy moly.
Holy moly as well.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the privilege to be able to order company
I'm
cars.
glad you said privilege.
Have you got your email? Did they reply yet?
No one's replied to my emails.
Oh, okay. So, no, and there's everything on the list. And before driving it, we would always go for like a GT3 or something like that, the traditional Porsche, the 911. And now, after driving that for the first time, it was pretty quick and easy to tick which box we want and sort of ordering a new company car. So it's really, really awesome that we're going to be able to have it as daily.
Lovely, lucky you. One of the things that I did notice, and I've watched the video that you two have done on Vice, I mean, the launch control is just off scale. I mean, it really does catch you out when you put your foot down, but it does some other cool stuff that it just doesn't fit with EVs, does it?
No, that was mind-blowing. Earl and I were lucky enough to go out into a random factory in the middle of nowhere and put the car through its paces. Firstly, the launch control. It just kicks your head back almost. You have to be prepared for it.
It actually makes your face move. I felt my face pull back.
Especially when it pulls the second gear, but you know, pulling 1.2 Gs, you know, talking 2.8 seconds with the Turbo S, that's quicker than what I pull in a race car and a purebred 911 GT3 Cup car off the line with slick tyres. That's phenomenal. It was unbelievable.
Well, I don't know. I don't think there's really any better way to talk about this car and you know, not sell it, but you know, sell its wares. It is phenomenal, and I think all three of us have been very lucky to spend some time in it, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that are going to very much enjoy the experience when they get their hands on one.